Rob Smith here. I'm delighted to be joined by Elias No Time Erber as he looks to make his pro debut. Elias, how are we doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm very good, mate. I'm very good. So I want to first start this interview by talking about your incredible amateur career. You've had a staggering 34 fighter amateur, winning 28 of those. So when you first started getting into mixed martial arts, did you expect to have 34 fights?
No way. So when I was starting with the training, I didn't even think about like fighting. But as the time went on, it's just mainly because of Immaf I have that many fights, and I just love to compete. My coach a lot of times told me to, yeah, we have to train now for some months and don't compete. But for me, I love competing, and that's part of the reason that I have so many amateur fights. And I think it's very important to have a good, successful amateur career before you turn pro. And I think it's also important that you're old enough before turning pro, because if you're too young, your body's not really grown fully. I would say now I'm 23. I'm also not at my fully grown level, but I think it's enough that I'm can go pro for now.
And so you spoke there about your experience in the IMAFs, and I think the IMAFs is a competition that it really grows the best fighters in mixed martial arts. I feel like you look at the people who've had success in the IMAFs, when they go pro, they just skyrocket in their careers. So talk to me about your experience in the IMAFs and how that's kind of shaped your career so far.
So the first time I competed in Immaf was in 2022. That time it was in Abu Dhabi, so I had to invest a lot of money, and with that, the pressure is also went up like a lot, because 32 people in your bracket, and it can be all over in the first fight, and you're thinking about, I've invested so much money, there is no way I'm losing the first fight. And you keep competing against the best in the world, and if you're there the first time, you don't really know your level yet, because I've competed on the local scene. I was pretty good on the local scene, but I didn't really know how it would go in the if I'm fighting amateurs, the best amateurs from all over the world. And with that being said, I lost the fight, the first fight in the competition by a split decision. And yeah, that hurt a lot. But the guy I lost to got second place afterwards. So I knew my level was not that bad, and I've learned a lot from that fight, I would say.
What were the biggest things that you learned from that fight, and how did you sort of deal with the pressure of having, so many people investing in you financially? So how did you deal with that pressure, and what did you learn from losing that fight?
So for the first time competing there, that was one of the problems. I didn't really know how should I deal with that. There were a lot of thoughts in my mind, but after the fight, it was very close. A lot of people thought that I won that fight, so I knew I was on a pretty good way, and I was very motivated for the next IMF competition. And there, I wanted to compete there for sure. Like the next one was then in still juniors. It was European Championships, and the second one I took the second place. But now 3 years later, the doping tests got revealed, and they now 3 years later they said to me, "Yeah, you're now a junior European champion as well." So that's pretty funny, I would say. Like 3 years later, you get a message on your phone. Uh, like it was a post from IMF, and there was a picture of me with the text "and new junior European champion." So that was pretty funny, and I hope I'm getting the gold medal as well, because I think I deserve it.
And when I speak to amateur fighters, the kind of average amount of fights people tend to have is anywhere between 10 to 15. Like I said, you've had 34 and you've won 28 of those. And so you've had a lot of experience compared to most fighters in the world. And so what have been some of the biggest lessons that you've learned throughout your amateur career?
So I think it's not only important that you fight a lot, it's about the quality of matches you have, and you have to learn from your previous experiences, because if you only fight every weekend and your skill level stays the same, that doesn't really make sense either. And I think you don't need that many fights that I have, but I started pretty early. I had my first competition when I was 17, and now I think for me, 23 years old is a good age to turn pro. And yeah. But if you're an amateur, IMF is for sure like a proving ground, I would say. If you
Yeah.
can hang with the people from the World Championships, you're in a good way, I would say.
And so what was your like what influenced your decision to turn pro? Was your coaches telling you that now's the time, or did your body feel ready for it? What made you want to go pro?
I would say both. Like I talked to my coaches a lot. The first previously I wanted to go pro already after the World Championships in Uzbekistan, but it didn't really went that great. So I thought, yeah, one more time, and now I really feel ready. I feel like I feel mentally ready to do professional fights now. And on your previous questions again, when you have that many fights, you learn how your body works. You learn how to cut weight, how to eat right. You have to make a lot of mistakes as an amateur, so you don't make the mistakes hopefully again as a professional. So I've lost by submission, I've lost by TKO, and I've lost by decision, and all these losses gave me a lot of things to work on. And every fight, if you have a good team, if you have a good coach, you analyze it with them and you get better fight by fight. So that's about it.
And I think
Yeah.
when you look at your experience when you will go pro, because I think you see it a lot. You mentioned earlier about how people rushing in to go pro and they're maybe not ready for it. And you do see when people make their pro debuts and they go to fight and they look like they look out of their depth. Don't look ready for it. Whereas like you said you've experienced everything you could experience in an MMA fighter's career and you're not even pro yet. And so do you think having all that experience will sort of give you a mental edge going into your career?
For sure, I think, because when you're standing in front of someone in the cage, there's like, how should I say, there's like an aura. You see if he's willing to die in there, or if he's hesitant or something. You can just feel it in the air. If he's like 100% ready, you know it's going to be a tough fight. But a lot of times there are people like, you see they're feeling the pressure. You see they're not 100% ready for that. And as a professional fighter, if you really like, for me, every fight from now on, there's my whole life, my whole career is depending on it. If I lose 2 or 3 times as a professional, I know I cannot the chances of making it to the big leagues after that are very slim. So you you have to really be thinking a lot about the timing when to go professional, because if you do it too early, you can end your career in your early 20s already. So I think it's very important to have a good team around you that really is honest with you and says to you, yeah, you're ready or you're not ready. You have to put in some more years, some more work.
And so it's been announced that you've signed up for your pro debut to FNC. Is there a date in mind that you're going to be making your pro debut? Has anything been announced yet on that regard?
So I've signed with FNC, but I'm doing my pro debut on another show in Austria, a local show
Okay.
on Cage Fight Series.
Okay.
It's one of only 4 shows in Europe that's going to be streamed on UFC Fight Pass.
Okay.
So that's going to be cool. And another reason why I signed with FNC, I had like a lot of offers from different organizations, but one big thing was that if you're signed with FNC, you can still fight in other promotions. So that's very cool that you're not like stuck in a promotion. Like maybe they cannot get a fight in a certain time frame. You can fight somewhere else. That's very important for me, because when I have my debut in November, I want to stay busy. I want to still improve fight by fight. But if it's I've now, my last fight was in February. I had a long skill development phase, but when I'm going to back to fighting, and I cannot wait for that, I want to do a few fights next year. So I cannot wait for that.
And who are some certain fighters that you look up to and who really influence you?
Um, I wouldn't say really influenced, but I have some fighters I really like to watch. Like one of my favorite fighters is Charles Oliveira. He most submissions in UFC history, most finishes in UFC history, and he's just exciting to watch. He moves, he walks forward. He's a good striker, a good grappler. I like fighters who can do it all, and I just like his personality. Out of fighting, he's such a nice guy, but when he's going into fight week, when he's going into the fight, he's like he has that aura around him that I really like. Another one is Jiří Prohaska. He's from Czechia. He's not that far from me, and I also just like his samurai kind of mindset. That's why he's also one of my favorite fighters.
And so Austria is yet to have their first UFC champion. Do you believe you've got the skill set to be the first?
Right now, definitely not, but my goal is for sure to get to the UFC, and for sure it's my dream to become UFC champion. And it's bold to say it like that right now, but I think with the team I have and with the skills I have and with the skills I'm going to uh, get to my game, I think in if we do it correctly, I think I can do it to become the first Austrian UFC champion, and that's of course a goal of mine.
My final question for you, because I won't keep you too long, I know you're busy, is what is your message to MMA fans who may have never seen you fight before? What can they expect to see from you?
Um, I think my debut is going to be for sure a finish, and I have a good ground game. I have good cardio, and I'm going to put on a exciting debut for sure. And it's definitely not the last time you've heard from me. In the future, there's going to be a lot talked about me. Not right now, maybe not in the next year, but in a few years for sure. I'm going to put Austria on the map. That's for sure.
Unbelievable, mate. Well, Elias, I want to thank you for your time. I just want to say I think you've got a seriously impressive career ahead of you, mate. You've done so much hard work in the amateurs, and I think at pro, look, you're gonna skyrocket, and I believe you're gonna go right to the very top. And I want to thank you for your time, and I really appreciated speaking to you.
Thank you.